What has changed since I was last on? I actually went down in listings. If I remember correctly, I was listing 20 at that time.
I think you said you were that you had just bumped up. Good grief. Okay.
Oh, God.
Oh, it was a kid.
It's very plausible that they could come in here while we're filming.
All right. Well, I'll try to keep this to an hour max. That way they don't get too antsy.
What was that? Raisins?
Raisins. You're about to answer these.
Yes, I'm trying to make sure I don't freeze up.
Raisins fell off the fridge.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, this is my sister Shy.
Hello.
If you guys are not new here, then you're probably one of the many people that asked her to come back on. Not recently, how long has it actually been?
I don't actually remember, to be honest.
Okay, I'll pop it up here on the screen. It's been a while since we did a video with her, but I did an interview with her a while back about her business, and she had some different strategies than I do and kind of how things are going from the perspective of a mom and someone with a lot more distractions than what I have. You guys really enjoyed the video. I think we talked mostly about strategies with interruptions, mental health, stuff like that. People freaking loved it and wanted to know if you'd come back on. Asked for an update. It has been a while. I feel like it's been like at least 6 months.
It's definitely, I want to say it was like last summer.
Oh, so maybe even a year. I don't know, but I will pop that video up here and also have a link to it down below if you want to go back and see where she kind of started. But I'm re-interviewing her because her situation is a lot different now, and she's told me I'm going to learn some things about her business too. So I've got some pre-written questions here that we'll go through, but let's check in with her and see how things are going. If you guys are watching this video and you have any questions for her that I don't mention in this video, make sure to drop them down below, because as I'll mention at the end of this video, we will be doing another one with her, and it'll be an opportunity for me to ask those questions. So go watch that last one if you haven't already. How have things been going? Have things changed since the last time you were on my channel?
So again, I can't remember timelines because I don't remember when we actually did the video, but at some point, I can't remember if I had moved or not, but when I did move houses, I got like very out of my system that I had going on because I was listing 20. And we had a lot of changes that happened that really impacted how much I was able to get done. Part of that was I was having heart issues or something that was going on.
Some
Don't actually know what
medical
it was, but that was making me extremely tired, and it was just really, really impacting what I was able to do. And so at one point I went back down to 10, and I was not consistent, and my sales definitely showed that. But I've been feeling a lot better. We also have another baby coming, so that was a big motivation to definitely get back on track, get my plan back together, just reorganize what I was capable of doing and all of that. So I'm due to have my 4th child in about 7 weeks.
Yeah. I think you pretty much found out you were pregnant probably only a couple months after we made that video. So it was funny because you're like, I've got these plans, and then immediately afterwards they change. But I mean, that's life. Things happen all the time, not just babies, but just really anything. I mean, even moving is a huge one. They can go back and watch the old one if they want to figure out where you were listing. But currently, what platforms are you selling on? And do you list everything on every platform or some on some platforms?
So I just switched. I've decided to give up Poshmark. Everything that I was cross-listing went on to every platform, or just eBay and Poshmark. And I just decided to change that, but everything's still on there. Of course, I'm going to let it sell off and put all the work into getting it on there. But everything from now on is only being listed on eBay. And not only that, but I am also only drafting on eBay. Before I was drafting on List Perfectly and transferring them out from there. And I've, made a lot of changes this week, actually.
Yeah, I need a pen so I can circle back to some of these. Oh, I knocked your stuff over. Oh, here's a twistable crayon.
With hair on it.
That'll work.
The pen didn't work for you?
I figured you wanted one. Oh. So, first question. You're drafting on eBay now. Are you still going to use List Perfectly as a backup or no?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I did debate it for a long time, just like, people talk about, there are some people that have lost their eBay platform. There are, sometimes there's glitches and stuff like that. So I definitely debated it. However, there are other ways to do that. But at the end of the day, I feel like the time it would take to have that extra whole thing isn't worth it for me. And I've also heard of people getting everything recovered if they just contact eBay.
Okay.
So I decided to not add that extra step.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to bring all my steps down.
Okay, second question, because this is new to me. I think I already know the answer because I've considered doing this myself. I have not pulled the trigger on it yet, if I will at all. But why did you make that decision why did you decide to cut out Poshmark and not eBay?
So, obviously there are a lot more people on eBay, but there are... Sorry, what was the question now?
Why did you decide to cut out Poshmark instead of eBay?
So, there are a few nuances about Poshmark that I personally just do not enjoy. One of them being, if you... I feel like you kind of have to send out, at least 15% off. You don't have to, but, to really, boost your sales and really entice people. If I go into, Target or something like that, if someone's like, hey, here's 20% off or anything more than that, that's, way more enticing than, here's,
Sure.
10% off. That's just tax. So, by sending out the 15% off, and you have to now send out the shipping discount. Mm-hmm. If you have an item that's a $25 item, which would normally be profitable for me on eBay, then you send that out, you're at just a number that I don't want to be at, and then they take a larger fee. So with that being said, those smaller profit items, which are a lot of my stuff, I don't feel did very well. And then you also have a higher, a lot of those are obviously first class items. And so you're charging more, or Poshmark is charging more, for first class. And I just didn't feel like that stuff did well. So then you get into a whole confusion of, well, what do I list on Poshmark? What do I list on eBay? And I do not want to be worrying about what's on what platform. I want everything so simplified. My life is, I wouldn't say complicated. I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's there are so many different pieces that are moving that I don't need anymore. So it just needs to be quick, done, boom, simple.
So you would say it's mostly for simplicity, plus what I'm hearing you say is that most of your business model revolves around more bread and butter items, and you felt that because of Poshmark's fees and the way that they do things, those items, which are the majority of your business, aren't as profitable over there.
Yeah.
So let's do a quick breakdown of that. So on Posh, okay, give me the pen. I can't do the crayon. We can share. On Posh, if you sell a $25 item, immediately your fee, well, I guess let's do a breakdown, minus 15%. Let's say it's a 20% off offer.
Well, also, so when you send a 15% off, it has to round to a whole number, and it has to go lower. And so I was looking at my the Excel that they'll send you of the breakdown and everything, and I literally calculated the percentage that I was losing on Poshmark compared to if I had just done it on eBay, the same discount or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, for one thing, it's not a big deal, but when you're selling hundreds and thousands of items, it does add up, and I do care about that, $3,000 at the end of the year. So
yeah. So let's say you send out a 20% off offer, which would bring you to minus $5, would leave you with 20. And then let's say you also have to offer discount ship because you're sending out that 20%
Which
off
just went
offer.
up.
So what's the discount? I honestly don't even know the answer to this. I think it's like about
I know it
$2.
just changed. It's like 205 or something now. It just changed.
Let's just do $2 just to make easy math. So that brings you then to $18. But you also have to take into account the Poshmark fee, which is also 20%, which I believe they take from the original, not from your shipping.
Yes.
Which means that would be 20% of 20 would be another $4, which would leave you with $14 minus how much you paid is normally going to be about $5, give or take in this area.
Yeah.
Unless you're shopping at the bins, we'll say $5. That leaves you with a $9 profit on a $25 item versus on eBay. And I'm not going to go down like fees and everything because it's like that meme where you're like, yeah, you're trying to figure out all these formulas are floating around. But it ends up being, at least for me, a $25 item on eBay. I end up making about a $15 profit on it.
Me too.
And I charge calculated shipping. So, $15 on eBay for a $25 item versus $9. Now that's not...
Well, but you also discounted 20%.
Yeah, that's not given the discount. If we gave the discount, it would end up being probably maybe like 11 or 12, which still like 9 into or versus something that's like $10 to $15, you're still looking at a big gap, and those profits do add up. So totally get you wanting to do eBay over Posh. Plus, like you said, there are substantially more buyers on eBay, although Poshmark has really increased lately with their amount of buyers as well. Besides that, why did you decide to cut down to one platform? Do you have any strategies with that? I know you said simplicity. I've got a feeling I know the answer, but why one platform besides simplicity?
My store has gotten large enough now that I started to have buys on both platforms. And while, yes, the first strategy would be to end it on Poshmark because you don't get, as of right now, you don't get penalized for Poshmark. But there may come a day, don't, mark my words, not just on that, but on listing with, what's the word? Photos that you didn't take. The stock photos.
I couldn't remember because I don't even use them anymore.
I know, I brain farted, but listing stock photos, like keywords that you're not supposed to have in there, brands that you're not supposed to have in there. What if Poshmark cracked down on all that stuff one day? So everything's already like formalized and everything on eBay. I know the rules, makes it a lot easier for me. But at some point, one, I don't want to give a customer a negative experience. Whether or not I'm going to get in trouble, like that's not the point. The point is I want to provide the best customer service for my buyers that I possibly can. And if I'm canceling anyone's order, that's a problem. And I have had people come back and I told them I just sold this on another platform or whatever, and they are not very nice sometimes about it, and I get it. I would be upset if I spent all the time like going through everything and then whatever. It would be annoying. And so that was a big motivation for that as well. I also think, it is just my opinion, because you have to do the sharing and that is the only way that you promote your item, you get your return goes down as your store gets bigger. So because when you first start out, you might be sharing an item like 10 times a day or something. Yeah. And then eventually you literally might not even be sharing every item every day. And so that was kind of a problem for me because I know that if I didn't share my stuff, my sales went down drastically. So I definitely couldn't like bank my business on that because I intend on scaling. I intend on being a lot bigger than what I am right now, and having employees most likely at some point. So that was a big one too for me.
Okay. Yeah, I have considered changing my business model to that off and on for several years, actually. I always decide not to because ultimately it doesn't take me that much time to cross post onto another platform. In my mind, Poshmark is free to list. And so I enjoy knowing, I guess, that I have a backup. And I think that's the main reason that I've been held back on it, because some weeks I'll have like the slowest sales week on eBay and Poshmark will pick up. It's also been a place that I've been able to have lower price sales, which has actually worked to my benefit to clearance out items on Poshmark. But every year I reconsider it. I'm like, what if I finally make that decision one day and I just go to eBay? I've also just thought about doing it for like 6 months to try it for an experiment. I have seen people that have done that and their sales like were more every month by doing one platform, but I've also seen the opposite of that. I actually just had somebody reach out to me about how she did that and it did not work out for her, and now she's going back to platforms. So it's like, what works for one might not work for others, but like, I totally get it. I've heavily considered doing that many times. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, when we do our next video, how your sales have been and where they're at. And the good news is, even if it weren't to work, there's always an option to go back. So.
Yeah. And one thing that I became very aware of too is, like, we know eBay is an algorithm and a robot. It's not a person, doesn't have feelings.
True.
And if I put my listings on eBay, they do pay. They pay the money to, I mean, technically I pay the money, but they pay to push it to Google if it goes on to Google and all these things. They pay for that advertisement to present it to the right customer, which is like what you're paying for in your subscription and your promotions and all that stuff. And if I'm ending items all the time on eBay, I just feel like that robot has to be like, that's not cool, man.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to put stuff on here, keep it on here. We've already paid blah, blah, blah amount of money to present this to 100 customers, and then you just pull the item off. I feel like that puts you in like lower ranking on eBay. Absolutely. So that was another thing, is I felt like it was impacting my eBay store. And so that's why I thought it was important as well to go down to one and do the best on one. But that's just, for me, what I felt was going to be best. I think we just got a letter.
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot about, if you sell on multiple platforms, doesn't taking items down impact basically eBay's algorithm? And the answer is yes. How could it not? In my opinion, personally for me, and things, you know, work differently for everyone in your business model. For me, the cost of that dip in the algorithm outweighs, I'm saying that backwards. The benefits I get from being on multiple platforms outweighs that dip in the algorithm on eBay. For me right now, that could change in the future, but no, there's definitely evidence of that. So you've decided to go on one platform. Tell me a little bit about, like, just briefly your process and strategy now.
So I have been a lot more competitive on my pricing. One of my goals has been to sell 15 items a day at $15 profit. And I do have an office in my house, so I do not currently have like the overhead that I would have at a different building. I do still have overhead, technically. I'm paying to use this room. I could be using it as a playroom, but so the 15 at 15 would put me around an $80,000 salary without, until I take on a building, of course. And so...
Are you still listing 10 a day, or are you at 15
I'm at
now?
15.
Okay, so that's where those numbers come from.
Yeah. Well, there's other reasons where that number comes from, but yeah. So I've started pricing more competitively to increase my sell-through rate. And I did hold on. I mean, of course you're going to make bad buying decisions when you're first starting out, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Definitely do the research that you can, do the best that you can. But I still have a little bit of that stuff that I'm selling out. That goes for cheap, but I'm still trying to price everything competitively. And I've kind of gotten to the point where even if I sold 15 items at only $10 profit, which is like really low for what my average profit was per item, I would still be making like a decent salary, especially given, you know, how awesome eBay is. You know, you get to work your own schedule, you can take off with kids, it's just so convenient. So, I mean, even if I sold something at $10 profit, I'm just like, yeah, go ahead, take the item, don't care, see you later. I'm going to use that money, I'm going to go buy 2 items, I'm going to turn that into 20 or 30 or whatever more dollars. And so I've just gotten a lot more lenient on the offers that I've accepted. And I no longer like feel this need to get what the other person got. So if someone else sold it for 50, I don't have to sell it for 50. Who knows how long they held onto that thing?
Yeah.
You know, if I sell it in 1 week and then I turn that money into so much more, who cares? I don't.
I assume since you've been more lenient, you've seen a bump in sales. I would assume.
Absolutely. Yeah. At one point, this like past month, my eBay sales alone, so that doesn't include Poshmark, but like your 90-day total that it reads you, was going up by like 1,000 a week, just from me accepting more offers, sending out more generous offers to my watchers and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, right now, I assume you just made this decision about stopping listing on Posh.
Yeah, because I just met you like last week.
Okay. So right now, if you know, or whatever your last sales numbers that you can remember, what's your normal average per month on eBay and what's your normal average per month on Posh?
Okay, I have a general, I would have to divide that.
Either way, I'm just trying to give like roundabout numbers so that when we do another video, we're able to kind of see how the strategy has shifted. So, okay. So you're currently listing 15. Your goal right now is to, like your mantra, I guess, is list 15, sell 15 at $15 profit, which I feel like is a pretty good goal. Where are you at right now with that goal?
I'm selling on average now. It's definitely going up. I think I'm around 10 or 11, maybe nearing, maybe on the verge of going over up to 12. I was selling out some older items, and I've also been a lot more consistent. So I'm definitely going to see that number just, you know, continue to increase and get to where I want it to be. So I don't think it's going to take very long. It's been going pretty rapidly. I would imagine within the next month or 2, I'm hoping to be at my goal.
Do you follow the rule of you're not going to increase your listings until you hit reseller nirvana, which is what you're talking about? You're selling the same amount you're listing every day on average. Are you not going to increase until you hit an average of 15 sales per day?
I definitely think that's, it can be good advice for certain people. For me, because I have such limited space, I want to be at that reseller nirvana because I can't make any more space right now. And I want to be able to save that extra money so that in, 6 months or whatever, I can get a building. So for me, that was wise advice. I'm not going to say that everyone should follow that because everyone has different business models. Everyone has different profit margins and risk tolerance and all of that stuff. But I don't think that it's bad advice. I do think it's very important as well to get really, really good at it at whatever platform you're doing before you do try to increase. Otherwise, you just never know what situation you might end up in. So I don't think it's a bad goal to be at reseller nirvana before you increase.
So she's saying she physically, with the space she has now, unless she were to get another space, she doesn't think that she'd be able to increase. I'm looking around the room right now and I'm seeing all these areas we could fit shelves. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of room, but if you guys looked around right now, it's essentially like a spare room. Very tight shelving. You can see her stacked boxes here. I mean, you're making pretty good use of the space you have.
Trying to. It's not always convenient, though, especially with my big belly right now.
Yeah. How many items active do you have right now?
Active, I think I'm at a little bit over 3,500. Let me confirm that. Oh, I'm sorry. That was totally, why did I say that? 1,500. I'm so sorry. Cross that out. I have a little bit over 1,500 active, sorry.
1,500 active listings. All right. Do you know your sell-through rate right now?
Like daily percentage?
Whatever.
Because like a 1% would be about selling 15 a day. Because 90 days is almost 100. And,
yeah, I just meant like you're listing 15 on average. How many are you selling per day? You said 10 or 11?
I think I'm nearing about 12 right now.
Okay. And I don't want to go too far in details with it, but you've also made quite a few changes in your processes. Again, I'm not going to go in the weeds on it, but your strategy right now for listing, as I see it, is to simplify every process and eliminate steps. So for instance, like photos, you've got the inverted flat lay, you are taking measurements, but like you're pretty quick with all your processes. There's no like bells and whistles. Like your goal is to get it done as quickly as possible and move on, right?
Yeah, I get it done and then I got to get all my kiddos.
Yeah. Let's talk about consistency. Would you say that you've been consistent, and why or why not? And by consistent, I mean, are you listing the same amount every single day?
If we're talking the last like 2 months, I would say yes, I've been consistent. If we're talking prior to that, I would say no. I had a lot of stuff going on. Not saying that's an excuse. That was the situation. But I allowed, certain things to affect my consistency, and definitely my sales went down. And since I have been consistent, they have very, very quickly forgiven me, and my sales have gone up a lot.
Yeah, sometimes it's really hard. I feel like you've seen this a couple times, but like, if you're being consistent for a long stretch of time, you get used to having consistent sales. And then it's like immediately, as soon as you stop being consistent, like you get punished by the algorithms really hard. And then what sucks about that is when you start going back to it, sometimes, not for you to hear you say it, that it happened pretty quickly. Excuse me. But for some people, for a lot of people, it takes many, many, many months to recover. To get back to that point of consistency. So you said there was just a lot going on. I would just assume, moving, being pregnant. Are there any other things that have been like your biggest roadblocks?
Like dealing with like loss of like childcare, like someone who decides that's not what they want to do anymore, or the person that wants to raise their rates by 60% 1 week. Imagine if we did that on eBay. So just like stuff like that. Childcare has been really difficult for us. We've had someone that's been consistent for the last 6 or 8 months or so with one of mine, with my youngest, but I also have to drive 30 minutes there and then 30 minutes back. So drive time has been a big time
suck,
yes.
Time suck.
But that's going to be changing here soon too. So I've just been trying to find solutions to just things that are just taking up so much time. I mean, even if it costs more money, you can calculate that out. I make this much an hour. Eventually I will recoup this cost because I'm able to put this much more into my business. And so definitely like higher costs things of convenience can definitely be worth putting the money into up front and then reaping, the profits from it later on, even though it's really hard.
Yeah. So I'm hearing you say like a lot of it revolves around childcare and travel time, which means you're not getting able to have focus time to get work done, which like we all know that if you try to work sporadically, like you're just you know, you're less efficient. Like that's just how it is. So your goal right now is to find more focus time so that you can blow through these things more efficiently. So is there any are there any tips or tricks that you have for moms out there who are watching this that are struggling with the same childcare issues or having to travel for childcare or, you know, less focused? Are there any things that you've done that have been a light bulb moment that have worked really well for you?
Yeah, I mean, I when I was being really inconsistent, having health issues going on, I went through a few days where I didn't ship my items and I have next day shipping. So I did lose my top rated seller status at one point. Not fun. You don't want to feel that feeling. So that was also a huge motivator for me. So with that being said, ship your items first thing. Or actually, I'll take some advice from another YouTuber, which is customer service first, because what if you have to cancel an order or anything like that? So customer service first. I did that before my kids woke up this morning. I spent 5 minutes on customer service. Then I shipped all of my items. I shipped 25 today, actually. And
Very good.
I did that within about 40 minutes, which that was really slow for me because I had a bunch of boxed items today, which was so annoying. I don't know why there were so many. I'm trying to sell out of my jackets and shoes and stuff because they take up a lot of space, and because I'm so limited on space, I've decided to just go down to smaller, first class, smaller packages just for me.
Yeah.
Because of my space.
I think for the most part, unless it's a really higher end item, which you'll still probably pick up, but if they don't fit here, you're trying not to pick them up.
Yeah,
right?
I want to have the same inventory system, and it would just have to make up, the price that I would have to sell it for would have to make up for how much space it takes up, because otherwise I could fit, 3 items in where I could fit a pair of boots in. And if those only sell for $45, then that's not worth it for me. Yeah. So I've been selling all of that stuff off. So I sold a bunch of leather jackets today, which was great.
You're one of the shout outs you just had is to do the things that you absolutely have to do that are vital for your business first thing.
Yeah.
That way, if something happens throughout the day, that part of the business isn't derailed. Any other tips for moms and the roadblocks with childcare and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I just recently, I just calculated how many extra listings I would have to do each day, and by each day I mean 7 days a week, but I don't actually work 7 days a week. But I'm listing, setting stuff goes live 7 days a week, and so what would I have to list extra every day in my draft bank to equate to the amount of vacation weeks that I want to take off? And so I've spanned that over a whole year. My husband gets 4 weeks off of work every year currently. So with that being said, I have 4 weeks that I would love to take off with them and my kids during that time. And then I also have sick days when my toddlers come home and are ill. So I kind of did my best to calculate that. You also have to keep in mind days that your kids are going to be off of school for holidays. So I calculated all of that up, and instead of, the month of June when you're going on vacation, don't build up your draft bank that month. Build it up ahead of time. Start now. And what I ended up finding out is I only needed to do 2 or 3 listings a day extra. And so I do all of my drafting in 3 days of the week, and then I source for 2 days currently. And so I took that, I think it was 2.5 or something, multiplied it by 7, and then divided by the 3 days that I draft. And that's all extra I have to do. It's, for me, I understand that might take more time for others, but at the point I'm at and increasing my processing time, that doesn't take me very long. And it's so beneficial to be able to take the vacation that I'm taking this month. And then I'm also going to be off of work having a baby. So plan ahead, do it gradually if you're able to. That's my advice.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I don't think I've ever looked at it quite in those terms, because I always just think, get 2 to 3 weeks ahead and maintain it. It's just kind of how I look at it, because if someone needs a week off or a day off or whatever, you'll get kicked back, but that's usually enough time to adjust and build that draft bank back up. but you're basically doing like a build your own PTO plan, which is, I know I'm going to have to take off, a week here. How can I list an extra week between now and then is essentially what she's doing. So for instance, if you calculate it out and you knew that it would take 25 extra listings to be able to pay for that time off, then you're dividing that. You're like, okay, I only list 5 days a week, let's say, and you're taking 25 divided by 5, you're listing an extra 5 a day. When you think about it, it's really not that much, especially when you're talking in terms of like 2 or 3, or if you don't even have to do it in a week, if you've got several months to plan, you can really spread that out. But no, that's a good way to look at it. And you actually have some vacations coming up. What do you have coming up that's planned right now?
I will be taking a week of vacation this month, and then that's all the vacation currently. I'll be taking time off, but it won't be a vacation when the baby comes. Baby's due June 4th. So not long after the vacation. But this is just me personally. I don't want anyone to take offense of me saying this, but I'm only going to probably take like 2 weeks off. And then after that, I would probably like ease into starting to do stuff again. I'll have my husband here to help me and everything, but like I can't sit around and like do nothing for 8 weeks. That's not me. I would get like so bored. And so because I can finish my work in a very decent amount of time, if I wanted to, I do want to. I could finish all of my photoing and drafting within 4 hours to do 50 items is what I've been doing recently, 3 days a week. So I would just, get all that done while the baby's sleeping or whatever, and then spend the rest of the time with the baby. But I'm only planning on 2 actual weeks off. And I'm also building up a little bit of inventory so that I don't have to do as much sourcing after that 2 weeks is up.
Okay. So you're planning on taking 2 weeks. So you've got your week of vacation, plus you've got your 2 weeks coming up, and probably, I don't know, a little bit of wiggle room after that.
Part-time after that, kind of for a couple weeks.
Yeah, because you're not going to be as efficient or hitting the ground running as hard.
For sure.
But is all that taken care of now? Or are you still working through, preparing for that?
This upcoming vacation, I definitely have plenty of drafts for that. I also, in addition to that, have a week's worth of a draft bank just an extra. That's not even vacation. That's just my kids are sick or whatever. That's just extra. And then I have a little bit that I've started for when the baby's due. I did plan, when I was calculating how many I needed to do, I planned on the baby possibly being a week or 2 early, because you just never know. Mm-hmm. Mine have always been really close to the date, but just in case. So I'm doing a lot more, once the baby comes, I won't be listing this much, but I have had to ramp up because I do have a much shorter deadline than I would like. And so I'm drafting 150 a week. And then that'll set me up to take that 2 weeks off.
Nice. Now, I know someone's going to ask, but when you're talking about getting ahead and having a draft bank, at least how I know you've been doing it, you were setting up your drafts on List Perfectly, and then every single day you were pushing them to eBay and then completing those drafts every day, which still basically is like listing every day in my opinion. Now that you're moving on to eBay, is it going to be the same process, or are you going to go ahead and schedule those listings?
Well, they just changed it to free scheduling, which is great. So that's not even, you don't even have that in the back of your mind at all. And so because I'm going to have more than 2 weeks of a draft bank, at different points, because I've got 3 weeks coming up now. I do not want those drafts to expire that I put time and effort into, and so I will be scheduling those out. I just had something, a draft in eBay that wasn't even 2 weeks old that just disappeared. I was like, what the heck? And then I was like,
I don't like hearing that.
I know. And then I was like, well, I wonder how many disappeared because I thought it was only one. And then I had this like whole thing where I had to like go through my numbers and like find the numbers that were, oh my God, it was
what's funny? I don't know if you noticed, but on the draft page now, they actually have a column that says expiration date now.
Oh, I haven't seen
on
that.
it. So like they're aware, but the expiration date's like 3 or 4, 5, 6 weeks out. Like it's a long time, and it's like I don't believe that for a second.
No, I literally just had it happen.
Yeah, I don't know, but I would recommend scheduling if you're doing it, only because like if you think about all, you're talking having 2 to 3 weeks in a draft bank, you're doing 150 a week. That's 450 for 3 weeks. Like you don't want that. That's just clutter you don't need. You could get those out of your draft bank and into scheduled. I would recommend doing that. Scheduling's been life-changing for me, especially now that it's free. Thank goodness. Thank you, eBay. But sounds like you've got a good plan and that you're pretty laser focused on like what you want. I know before, if I'd asked you this a couple years ago, that would not have been the case. You've grown and changed a lot in that aspect. And I'm sure that once you like started some of the processes and like determined what you actually wanted, it's made work probably a lot easier for you too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, sorry. Yeah, once you really, I listen to a lot of like podcasts and like audiobooks and a couple of YouTubers and stuff. And I'm definitely all about like efficiency now. If you do some research on like how efficient people are at work, like at like regular day jobs, it's not much. So you have to ask yourself why. And then if you think that you're the exception to the rule, well, you're probably wrong. Because, I mean, I don't know, just the likeliness of that is pretty slim. So, I mean, it's hard to even, like, you're not even aware of how inefficient you are.
Yeah.
But when you get really laser focused, you don't do laundry while you're taking photos, and you don't like, oh, I need to go vacuum or like whatever. You don't have all this extra stuff on your mind. You just get it done. You get the next thing done, and you can deal with all the other stuff after that. You're so much more efficient. So that's what I've been doing, and that's why I think that I'm going to start trying to get all of my stuff done by noon.
Awesome. The thing that was really eye-opening for me, like, because I kind of was in that mindset before I hired employees, which is I was like, well, when I have time, that's when I'm going to fit everything in. And I was super inconsistent. The thing that really changed it for me was I timed myself on processes. And when you're timing yourself, like you are focused, you're forced to be, because you have to figure out your average time. And so when I did that, I was like, I think my goal was like 10 a day, and I wasn't getting it done, and which is ridiculous. And then I timed it, and I was like, I could get 10, like after I timed everything, I was like, I could get 10 items completely drafted in an hour.
Yeah, it's like, why is it taking me 8 hours?
Yeah, I was like, and I'm not even doing that every single day. Like, what is going on? And it was just all the distractions, like being so unfocused. And honestly, perspective has a lot to do with it. But that's when it really kicked into gear for me. This is kind of a random question, but tip for anyone out there, and if you don't have any, that's fine. But do you have any fail-safes?
What do you mean by that?
Fail-safes would be like, so you have this plan. Let's say it doesn't go according to plan. Do you have anything to fall back on? Like a fail-safe would be, even if this fails, I've got a backup and it'll be okay.
No, I believe in going in scared.
Okay.
Nothing that'll light your butt on fire like going in scared. So, no, I'm just kidding. I mean, I still have all of my stuff from like around 1,500, because I like just stopped doing it. Around like 1,500 items on Poshmark. So that's going to be there. That'll take, some time to sell out, hopefully around, I don't know, because I'm selling like 7 or so a day on Poshmark. So math. And so, I've got time to build eBay up, to fix anything that I, need to correct. I feel like I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an expert because I am not, but I have gotten a good grasp on brands and styles and stuff that I find in my area that do well for me, not like, and I'm basing that on my solds, not on stuff that's in my store, of course. And so, you know, I've got some stuff that I really like to fall back on. If like, what could go wrong? What if I lose my whole store?
Well, just like, okay, so you're planning to have 2 weeks off and then you think you're going to go into it part-time. Let's say you take your 2 weeks off. I don't want to put this evil on
fine.
you, Ricky Bobby, but let's say that, you know, 2 weeks isn't enough. Maybe there's a medical issue.
Sure.
Maybe something happens. Maybe something happens with, you know, one of the kids, or maybe something happens with your husband's job. Like, you just never know. And then you end up not being able to perform to the level that you expected. Let's say you need to take 4 weeks off instead of 2 weeks. Like, is there a fail-safe for that?
No, my draft thing doesn't go that far. My husband, he can use up his vacation weeks, and then after his vacation is gone, he can use up, what is that called? You get 4
like
weeks.
PTO, paid time off?
No, it's not paid. It's 4 weeks.
Oh,
I'm forgetting.
Family leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so technically he gets 4 weeks. In addition to after using up his vacations, he wasn't planning on using all of that because there's no one to do his job while he's gone. So he just walks back to a desk that's being piled up. So he would definitely be there if I needed, you know, any help with the baby or whatever for longer than I expect. As far as, I mean, if you can't work, you can't work. And it doesn't matter if it's eBay or something else. So not exactly. I mean, I have some,
maybe this was a terrible question, but like an example would be like someone, for example, not that this is a fail safe, like no matter what, it's going to be fine, but like if that were to happen, you couldn't list, like some people's strategy would be, well, I'll just discount my store. I'll work on marketing, strategy, promotions, but
sure. You gotta do what you gotta do. Oh, they're laughing.
Okay. I thought that was a bad thing. Okay. Well, I thought I would ask that just in case you had some like profound backup plan, but it sounds like you're going by the motto that I used to go by and sometimes still do. And I can't remember who originally said it, but it is, there is no greater motivator than starvation.
I've heard there's no better seasoning than starvation too.
Okay. Yeah. It could be a good motivator, so it has to get done. There's no other option.
I just want to put out there that my girls are on spring break. I do not work at home with them normally. And I did only intend on getting half of my work day done this week because I knew that they were on spring break. But I just want to put it out there that I do not subscribe to having your children at home while you're trying to work a full-time job.
It's tough.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
And you cannot focus on two things like that. You can't give them the quality that they need. You can't give your work the quality that it needs to be successful. That's not a good sound. Do you want to tell me what happened? No? Are you okay now? What's wrong? Mommy and KK are almost done, okay? Okay? Can you go back in for a few more minutes?
You need to get those ball things outside in your truck.
Okay. We'll get the golf putts out after KK leaves, okay?
We need 5 minutes and then I'll give your mom back to you and I'll leave.
No.
I have to.
Maybe they want you.
Can you
Maybe
give
it's
us
not me.
5 minutes so we can finish?
And then we'll go play golf outside?
I want KK to play with us.
KK's gotta go after this.
Remember, this is work. Work day.
This is for KK.
Okay.
Thank you. Very nice. I love.
His name on it.
I see that. It also says I love you. It's very cute. I feel like it was originally yours, though. It's a hand-me-down.
No, it's probably for you. They see me all the time.
All right. Wrapping up, do you have any goals? I know short term, it sounds like, get through vacation, get through having the baby, and focusing on reaching that reseller nirvana for 15 a day. But long term, what are your goals?
So all of the extra money that I will be making compared to what I have been making, I'm going to save up and be ready to take on overhead and extra expenses like an employee and all of that. So I want to have that ready because it takes a while for your sales to catch up to extra costs like that. And then after that, my husband wants to be self-employed, and he has a specific thing that he wants to do. In order to do that, obviously, we need to have a certain amount of savings and other things, like a side hustle or something while that builds up. And so kind of replacing his income is a longer term goal of mine, because I do want him that for a very long time. He talks about it all the time. I think that's what would make him happy. So that's kind of like our mutual goal, is to get him home. He would be working from home. Mm-hmm. And so that's like a year or two down the road, hopefully.
Are you thinking that he's going to help you resell to achieve that? Or you're just thinking with what income you make?
Only temporarily when I were to make up like both of our incomes, he would temporarily be helping me while he builds his new thing up. But he's not long-term planning on helping me with eBay. He doesn't like it like I do.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I think that comes to a close. We've got some angsty kids that need to go play outside. So
yes, you chose spring break to come over. So
we are going to get off of here. Do you have any closing remarks or words of wisdom? Anything that we didn't cover that you want to say?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, we are going to do another video. We're going to check in with her, and to be honest, I'm going to use her as a guinea pig because, like I said, I've been thinking about switching to one platform too, so we're going to let her do it first and see kind of how things go. I'll be interested to see what her sales look like, what her why can I not say that word today? What her consistency looks like when we check in with her again. I'd say it'd probably be like, I don't know, like somewhere between 4 to 6 months down the road, probably more like 6 months down the road, and see how she's doing. But you guys have asked to have her on the channel. I mean, people were really harassing me about it. Like, I got Instagram messages and stuff, but people just loved having you on. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this like different perspective. She is doing everything solo right now. She works out of her house. She's a mom. She's got lots of distractions, and she just has different hurdles than I do. So hopefully you guys, if you're in the same situation or even just take little pieces from this interview, I hope that it helped you guys.
Yeah.
And it was fun. I am surprised by some of your decisions, but I know that you were planning on doing that anyways, that you've been thinking about it for a while too. So that is it. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.